This is entitled The Pathology of the Serpent in Paradise. And the Midrash is interested in the background and the emotional factors that were driving the snake to do what it did in the story of the Garden of Eden. Now, a big theme in the Midrash is that we're all given a package in life of different talents and different character traits. And there is a complex system that God uses with these character traits to put in place a whole reward and punishment. Some of these character traits and talents seem to catapult us forward in places where maybe we are going to be tested. Some of these character traits seem like they keep us back, but maybe they're actually giving us direction in life. It's very complicated. That's what life is about. It's a constant test. So what about the snake? Did it have tests? Did it have character traits? Did it have talents? The Midrash thinks it did. And of course, you all know the famous statement from the Midrash that the snake could walk upright and the snake could talk and converse with human beings. So all of a sudden, think of it, the snake was catapulted out of its biological status. It was, even though it was sort of top dog in the animal kingdom, it was now able to freely interact with human beings. And what could that have meant for the snake? What kind of learning and growth opportunities was it to interact with these two creatures that God put on the earth and created himself, Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve? But instead, the snake did not react that way. And the first hint that the Midrash gives something wrong is the fact that it brings a pasuk from Kohelet, from Ecclesiastes, about anger. It says, Ki berov chachma rov kas. The more intellect one has, one could fall into a trap and become more angry. And the medieval commentator, the Ibn Ezra, comments on that to say that some people, because of their superior intellect, get so fixated and obsessed with the fact that everything is temporal in life. You know, we're not going to be around. Things that are precious to us, our material gains, our children, everything is not here forever. And because of this fixation of their intellect, it leads to tremendous anger and it leads to their death. So that is a clue that the Midrash is taking to say that the snake was taking its talents and its gifts in the wrong direction. Of course, we know that, again, a famous Midrash, that he was jealous and wanted to marry Chava. In other words, it wasn't because he had these talents and he could interact, it wasn't good enough for him to just be among them. He thought, look, these people are immortal and I am mortal, and I want to, become part of them. I'm going to marry Chava. And that, of course, was, taking his gifts too far, and was, of course, the beginning of the end. He got everybody kicked out and got him severely punished. Another clue that the Midrash gives is it compares the anger of the snake with other narcissists, I would say, in Tanakh. So we know that the snake had this fixation of its immortality and its limitations, instead of being grateful for, where these talents could have taken him and these gifts. So the same is sort of true of the baker in the story of Joseph, who we never learn that there's any anger there. But in the story of Joseph, if you remember, there was the chief baker and there was the chief butler, and they both had dreams. And the Midrash says elsewhere, quoted by Rashi, that each one dreamt the interpretation of the other one's dream. In other words, the baker knew how to interpret the dream that the butler had, and vice versa. So when Joseph first got up and interpreted the dream of the steward, the baker went into a rage and said, "I know this already. You're not telling me anything I know. I already dreamed what his dream meant. I want to know what my dream means." And because of this rage, this sort of brought him down. The commentators feel that, because he got so enraged at Joseph, so Joseph's, sometimes the interpretation of a dream becomes reality, and it got him in trouble and it really led to his demise. The next one was Datan Vaviran in the story of Korach, right? They were enraged at Moshe. They said, it's because of you that we can't come into the land. It's because of you that we can't inherit our rightful place in the land of Israel. Completely oblivious to the fact that right before this, you had the story of the spies, and that's why the generation was punished, and so they didn't get into Eretz Israel because of that, and yet completely oblivious, completely rewriting the narrative to make it sound like it was Moshe's fault, and this rage was led to their downfall, and they were swallowed up in the earth. The last case that the Midrash puts them in, this last comparison of the snake, is to the famous story of Haman, right? He was enraged because Mordechai wouldn't bow down to him, and because of that he took it out on the whole Jewish people. And it's interesting, the Midrash brings a story that he wrote a letter to the entire world, because that was, the entire world was living in their kingdom, and said, we have to destroy the Jewish people, and I'm going to tell you why. Let me tell you about Jewish history. Let me tell you what a bad and decadent people they are. And he completely twists everything. He says, the Jewish people came into Egypt and they took the best of the land, and then all of a sudden one day they decided to have this religious pilgrimage, and they went around borrowing everybody's gold and silver valuables, and they went out to the desert and they never came back, and they had to go chase them and try to get their money back. But then Moses put a spell on the troops and killed them, and then they encountered this wonderful upright tribe called the Amalekites, and they started a war and started to kill them for no reason. So he completely spun the whole story of Jewish history just for what he was trying to accomplish and making the Jews look bad. But again, his fixation on his honor was what really was the demise of Haman, just like the demise of those other people. And in fact, it reminds us of the famous saying in Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of Our Fathers, which says, "Hakina v'ataiva v'kavod motzim et adam min olam," right? That jealousy and lust and seeking honor is what puts people out of this world, what usually is their demise. And if you look at the snake, that's exactly what's going on here, except the fact that he took everybody down with him. And finally, I want to say that there's a famous Midrash, Tanchuma, which says, that really our attitude in life would be, we should look at our talents and our character traits and say, God, I want to take these and do the right thing with them. I want to see how I can live a more moral, meaningful life with them, a more holy life with them. I want to give back because of the talents that you gave me. That's the healthy way to look at it. And the snake was exactly opposite. He took these amazing biological gifts that he got and fixated on his jealousy and what he couldn't do and who he wasn't and who he never will be. And instead of saying, wow, what could I do? What can I gain from this ability to interact with the two people that God created and put on this world? Instead, it wasn't enough. It wasn't good enough. And that was his demise. So ultimately, I believe that the Midrash is saying, why do we spending all this time looking at the case of the serpent in Gan Eden? Because we learn a tremendous lesson about gratitude. If you don't have gratitude for what God gave you, that really is causes a whole spiraling which ends in the demise of the person. It ruins your life, it ruins your happiness, causes anger, and it all goes downhill from there. So be grateful. Look around and say, I am grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for the gifts that God gave me. Have a great Shabbos.